Adeola Oredola is the Executive Director of Youth in Action, a 13-year-old nonprofit in Providence, Rhode Island. Like City Year, the organization that Alan founded in 1987, Youth in Action provides an opportunity for young leaders to create positive social change throughout their communities. In 2006, Adeola completed a 3-year term on the Providence School Board, where she worked to ensure that both youth and community members had a stronger voice in school policy initiatives. Adeola grew up in Providence, Rhode Island, attended Providence Public Schools, then Brown University, and now lives in the Washington Park area of the city. As a product of the community in which she works, Adeola is truly dedicated to every aspect of youth and community development in Providence. I know what it's like to be a teenager in this community and what a difference it makes to have mentors and coaches who challenge you to define your own success despite your environment, she says. My heart lives in this work because I know how it has made a difference in my life. To date, Youth in Action has given more than 1,000 young people the chance to exercise their highest level of leadership. It has reached more than 11,000 Providence youth with health education, violence prevention, youth-produced media, academic mentoring, and community renovation projects. 96% of Youth in Action graduates have gone on to college. At the age of 23, Adeola was the youngest person ever to serve on the Providence School Committee. She's now 30 and currently serves as a board member with AS220, the Women's Fund of Rhode Island, and the Providence Plan. Please welcome Adeola.
He did my speech for me. How's everyone doing this morning? It's good to see you all up and here and celebrating with Connecting for Change. So good morning, and thank you so much to the organizers of the conference for inviting me here. Thank you all in the audience for inviting me here to speak with you this morning. I'm just so honored to be among so many great keynote speakers and community leaders and activists, and most importantly, young people, because I know that there are many young people at this conference. So I'm really excited to meet all of you too. So thank you for having me here. I wanted to shout out some of my colleagues in the audience. I think that Jen is here, and Michelle, and Errol, and Robert, and Jackie. Thank you so much for coming to represent Youth in Action with me today. If you're out there, clap a little bit so I know where you are. All right. Back there. So I am the proud executive director of Youth in Action, which is an organization that's all about young people, their capacity to lead, their natural ability to innovate, and their desire for positive change. Youth in Action was started by teenagers. So every day, young people play key leadership roles in every level of the organization, making up the majority of our board of directors and running all of our community programs. So I was talking to Izzy, who is one of our youth leaders, the other day, and he said, sometimes when I say that part, people don't really understand what I'm saying. So I think when you speak on stage, you should say that part again. So young people, teenagers, run our organization. They are part of every decision that we make, from the organizational budget to the colors on the walls. So it's a really cool place to work and be, and it's a great thing to see. And I personally believe that young people are actually consistently better leaders and decision makers than a lot of adults I know. So, and I get to see that every day. So as was mentioned, my heart lives in this work. I grew up through it, and I continue to do it now, and I love it. I grew up in a typical struggling neighborhood on the west end of Providence, went to Providence public schools, as was mentioned, and I faced typical challenges. I was a good kid, had a good family, but we struggled, and I faced typical challenges that a lot of less advantaged young people in urban communities face. Not because we're any less capable, but simply because we have less. The biggest difference between me and most of the other young people in my neighborhood was that a few people in my community decided to invest in me and my power as a young leader. They were able to give me that extra support I needed, and it made all the difference in the world for me. I always tell people about a time I went to my guidance counselor at my high school, and he asked me what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, and I said, I want to go to Brown University. I had a couple mentors who went there, and just, I heard it was a good school, so I wanted to go there. He looked at me, and he had this kind of pained expression in his face, and he said, students from this school don't go to Brown University. So, he was the expert, so I believed him, and I kind of went on thinking, okay, I'll make sure I have my safety schools, and I'll get through. I didn't have the highest SAT scores, I didn't have the highest grades, so I just, believed him until a few of the community leaders who had decided to kind of take me under their wing and invest in me as a leader, they set me straight. They said, you're going to submit the strongest application you can, and then we'll see about that. So as you know, they worked with me every step of the way, and when I got my acceptance letter from Brown University, I made sure I took a special visit to that guidance counselor's office and put the acceptance letter in the middle of his desk. So, I get to hear stories like that with the young people I work with now, and it's really exciting to just be a part of their journey, despite what people think of them and their circumstances, to see them do well and be strong for their community. So fast forward to the following fall after I got that acceptance letter. I was finally a college student, first in my family to make it, so I was really proud and confident, and I felt that way walking through those famous gates on that campus. And a few weeks into the semester, those feelings started to melt away, the feelings of pride and confidence that I carried with me, because I started to realize that I wasn't exactly prepared for the work that I had to do on campus. I started to realize that I was angry because I wasn't taught all that I needed to learn in order to succeed. It was a difficult 4 years, and I had just realized that I was severely underserved by the education I had, and I needed to figure it out. So I caught up. I had to reteach myself reading, writing, and math skills, basically that I had never been taught. I eventually reached out for support after almost failing a few classes, and I ended up using every resource on campus, getting used to late nights at the library when most students were already in bed. And I realized, though, through that process, that I was actually used to navigating beyond obstacles and finding solutions in difficult situations. This was a skill set that I actually picked up from those community mentors back in high school, and I was thankful to them again. That same skill set helped me to graduate from Brown, so I finished, and I finished in 4 years, so I was really happy about that. It was a big deal for me to finish, for my family in particular, because it just meant so many amazing things as the first graduate, as someone who was going to be able to have a career instead of a job, all the things that you hear about and talk about in urban communities. But I left bitter about my education. I left angry, and I knew that students were continuing to be underserved in Providence. So the fall after I graduated from college, instead of leaving Providence like so many others, I decided to stay. I joined the local school board to advocate for students, and I took a job at Youth in Action to help teenagers fight for a better city. I chose to stay because I felt my community had given me so much, and whether I was being naive or not, I felt both responsible and powerful enough to help those behind me. So that's what I decided to do. So I'm gonna take a quick break, and actually I wanna show you a video. A few years back, a couple of our alumni came and we had a conversation with some of our current members about leadership and some of the struggles with it. So I wanna show that little clip. We're actually gonna be showing the full movie in our session later on today at 1:30. So I wanna show you a little piece of it before I continue.
up in the community, they stick out and they affect, like you can immediately see the effects on people, on your friends, or on yourself personally, and it just clicks in your mind that, you know what, something needs to be done about it, like we've had enough.
I think becoming a leader, and just from my experience, like getting involved in Youth in Action, I noticed that, you know, I was like once kind of part of the crowd, and then, you know, like something changed in me, like my language, you know, the way I spoke changed, the things that I was interested in changed, and so like just there was a separation kind of that occurred, you know, between me and a lot of my peers, and for me that was a little painful, because when I thought about like who I was and why I was getting into this work, I always thought it was about those peers that I was so connected to.
I think the hardest thing of being a leader is stepping out the crowd when you don't want to, especially around this community when everybody like sees you because of your image, the way you look. Everybody sees you as a gangster, saying no, I'm not that, and actually doing something else. And that's what I think of like every time I come here. Like it takes me away from them.
But then you see us who are here making a difference in the community, showing that we have power.
I think of that every time I come here. It makes me want to be a better person out there.
So those were, yeah. It was really powerful to be a part of that conversation, and we have conversations like that all the time, just to have young people really think about what it means to be in the process that they're in of evolving into whatever leader they're going to be in the future, and starting to do that work today. So a lot of times people in our organization talk about, or people in the field talk about young people as future leaders, and a lot of what we talk about at Youth in Action is we're leaders today. Young people are leaders today, and they have to be involved today. So conversations like that happen a lot, and I'm really proud that we got that one on tape. So as a young person, you can see yourself as powerful, or you can see yourself as someone who is powerless and being acted upon by a system. A young person who is supported to be powerful will fight to have a say when it comes to their schools and their neighborhoods. A young person who feels powerless will see their environment as something that can't be changed, and will ultimately give up hope of ever seeing a difference. In so many places across the country, with high unemployment rates and struggling schools and struggling environments, it seems like people just don't care. Most people are no longer engaged in coming up with solutions. Young people, who would be best positioned to give their voice and power to help fix what's broken, in my opinion, usually move on to better places and opportunities as quickly as possible. How many of you have heard young people say, I'm out of here, the first chance I get, I'm leaving, right? That's a common thing that people say, and it's because that's the way they feel. In these communities, a small few make important decisions. Everyone else either follows or leaves. This is the pattern of a broken city. And so a lot of what young people were talking about is, as we're doing this work of trying to mend the city, these are the leadership struggles that we experience, but we're committed to doing it. And so we're gonna do what we can to get through the hardships of leadership in order to stick to that commitment. So you can hear more about that in our workshop at 1:30, because we have youth leaders there to talk to you about that. It's critical that we find a way to support those who are affected most by issues in urban communities, in most cases, young people. We need to prepare youth to engage and organize in order to turn these issues around. What would our cities look like if we started to truly see youth as powerful assets instead of problems? As a teenager, I grew up around adults who saw my potential to be a strong force in my community and supported me to follow that path. As an adult, I work with youth throughout my city to bring their potential to life for social change, because I see it as a way to heal the city. In Providence and cities across the country, young people are taking the lead to fix what's broken, tackling issues in education, public transportation, community health, and youth rights. At YIA, the power of youth starts with the building that we work in. In 2001, Youth in Action leaders bought and renovated a 4-story building. After raising $500,000, working with architects, and lots of sweat and tears, we have a youth center in the heart of South Providence where YIA's programs are needed most. And we turned the top 2 floors of the building into affordable apartments so that the money goes back into our organization. Yeah. One of the first programs Youth in Action members started was in response to their friends who were getting pregnant. And no one seemed to care, so they wanted to do something about it. Youth in Action leaders decided to team up with the Department of Health and start a health education team. Each year, the team reaches about 300 of their peers, talking about the things that their schools and their parents won't talk about or can't, like dealing with pressure in your relationship, domestic violence, the right way to use a condom, understanding STDs, and where to get tested. So it's a really powerful program, and it's information that's really important, that's really not getting out there in schools. So we try to do our best. Another program we have is the Youth in Action Media Team. It's one of our newer programs, and Media Team works to capture and promote the issues that youth care about most. Their first project was about public transportation as a crisis in Providence. Youth were already struggling to get to school and work. Then the unemployment rate in Providence skyrocketed, and now the bus rates are going up too. Media Team created a website as a tool to help other youth and policymakers learn more about the transportation barriers young people are facing. Our newest initiative at Youth in Action is mobilizing youth from across the city to speak up and take action together. It's called the Youth for Change Alliance, or Y4C, and it's a group of 4 organizations in Providence that believe in youth power and leadership. We came together because we're deeply concerned about the lack of youth presence in public discussions. A lot of times decisions are made by people in a room who are very comfortable with their lives and don't really know what the root of the issues look like or feel like. So decisions are made, and they affect young people, sometimes most deeply and foremost, without their voices at the table. Y4C believes that when young people have access, support, and opportunity to impact policies and systems, the entire community benefits from it. We just finished creating Providence's first Youth Bill of Rights, which highlights youth-defined solutions to the biggest issues facing our city right now. We launched the Youth Bill of Rights just this summer at a mayoral candidates forum. All 5 candidates for mayor showed up, and they were nervous. They were sweating. It was great. And we actually got them to sign on to our Youth Bill of Rights publicly. We had a huge copy of it, and they just kind of signed it, and we were really excited because accountability, right, on every news channel. So on November 4th, when we elect our next mayor, and he's getting ready for office, we'll be rolling up our sleeves and getting ready to follow up to work alongside him or challenge him. The organizations involved are Direct Action for Rights and Equality, the Providence Youth Student Movement, Young Voices, and then, of course, Youth in Action. Young people in Providence are also beginning to connect with youth across the country. Providence is the official host city for the 2011 Free Minds, Free People Conference. Free Minds, Free People is a national education conference that brings together 800 people from as far away as Hawaii to start to work on those difficult issues of education, but through a social justice lens. So it's a really good group of people. A lot of young people come, students, college and high school students are there, but you also have researchers and educators and community activists. We're really excited about the opportunity to be the host organization and host it in Providence. The first one was in Chicago, the next one was in Houston, so to come to Providence is a really big deal. So it's happening this summer on from July 7th to the 10th, and we need your support in order to make it happen. So I hope that you'll all check out our website. It's freemindsfreepeople.org to learn more about it. We need presenters, we need artists, we need sponsors, we need all kinds of people. And we're really excited to host it, and I hope that you all get involved. If you want to hear more about what Youth in Action is doing or what's happening in Providence, come to our session. It's at 1:30 at the Whaling Museum, and we're going to have young people there, other Youth in Action staff, and we'll be there to talk to you more about what we do. So thank you again for the opportunity to be with you this morning, and enjoy the conference.